God. I'm alive. I did it, guys. I made it. Yes, folks, it's true. I've done it. I know I've not uploaded in a long time, but there's been a damn good reason for that, and that is because I've been working on
my doctoral dissertation,
as well as preparing for my thesis defense, which occurred on June 2nd of this year, and the pick is in. I'm officially a doctor. So now feel free to call me Dr. Thomas XL200 or Dr. XL200 for short. I feel like that rolls off the tongue really well. So sorry for disappearing, but I hope you can all understand why, and hopefully now I'll have a little bit more time to do some video work. Now that's all well and good, but in the lead up to my defense, I made one very bold decision, and by bold I mean kind of stupid. The literal weekend before I was supposed to defend, I decided to fly out to Cincinnati, rent a car, drive 3 hours both ways, and attend the legendary thoosie event HoliWood Nights at Holiday World. And this decision was horrifically ill-advised given the proximity of it to my doctoral defense, and it was very stressful, but I have a lot of thoughts about the event, so I figured I'd share them with you today. Let's hop in for another XL rant and talk about HoliWood Nights. In this HoliWood Nights, in this Hollywood Hills. But before we start, please hit that subscribe button. We are extremely close to 1,500 subscribers, which is really exciting, and I hope to hit that milestone soon. Give the video a like, it really helps out a small channel like myself, and let's dive into it. Now, there are two main things about HoliWood Nights I want to touch on in this video. First, I want to talk about Holiday World, the park itself, and then I want to talk about the actual event Holiday Nights, because obviously the two are kind of interlinked. So let's start off with the park. I've been to Holiday World once before in my life, which was last year during my crazy 2,500 mile long thoosie road trip. It was the furthest west stop in my park and kind of symbolized the halfway point before I started traveling backwards towards home. And going into Holiday World, though I was obviously a little bit excited, I had meh expectations for the park as a whole. Sure, there's the voyage, and the voyage's reputation precedes itself, but really there are only 4 major coasters. 3 of them are woodies, which seem to give pretty similar experiences, and one of them is a launched B&M wing. And I've never been the biggest fan of B&M wings to begin with, so I didn't have the highest expectations for that. Good Gravy had just opened, and it was a cute family coaster, but at the end of the day, it is a family coaster, so nothing really riled me up about that. And finally, it just seemed like the park was kind of chintzy, you know what I mean? Like, it has this kind of cheap, ridiculous theme. You walk in the boiling hot summer and you see Santa Claus and a bunch of Christmas shops, then just a bunch of lands related to different holidays just kind of plopped around haphazardly throughout the park. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of cohesion. It feels a little cheap and Knobles-y.
I know some people think of Knobles as a great place. I mean that as a derogatory statement.
But I was nevertheless excited to experience the park for myself just because so many people had said so many great things about it. And I'm also not the biggest wood coaster person in the world anyway, so, whatever. And when I first walked into the park, my initial impressions were good, but not great. To be fair, this was towards the tail end of my road trip and I was just absolutely exhausted, so that may have affected how I experienced things, but I thought my first rides on all the major coasters were a bit underwhelming. The voyage especially, it was definitely a good roller coaster, a really good roller coaster, but I was expecting a lot more given its vaulted reputation in the roller coaster community. After ride one of my thoughts? It was good. Honestly, I'm a little underwhelmed. The water park wasn't something that really interested me. There weren't really any great dark rides to speak of. The food was alright. And their ops had this really bizarre habit of running 2 trains on every coaster, but just refusing to pack people into one. So the train would roll up empty into the station, they would just shut down all the restraints and send it out empty again, making us wait for the next train to roll in. But as the day went on, the park kind of began to get under my skin. A way I wasn't really expecting. It just has this kind of charm to it that just really got to me. There's certain aspects of it, like the free drinks, which I thought was a good thing going in, but I just didn't realize how incredible the free drinks are. I was so hydrated throughout the day. I never felt really fatigued or beaten down from the sun, except for the fact that there's no shade, but that's another issue entirely. The sunscreen around the park is really nice for a pale-ass ginger such as myself. There's just some intangible vibe to Holiday World. It's so relaxed and so joyous. It just really rubs off on you. It's impossible to avoid it. And as the day went on, all the rides began to click for me. I realized that all three of the wooden coasters, even though they look a little similar on paper, have a different character to them. The Legend obviously is kind of the red-headed stepchild of the bunch, a lateral-focused machine, but it also has surprising bursts of airtime to go along with its crazy laterals. And as the day went on and it warmed up, it just tried to rip me out of my seat throughout the ride. It was crazy. I had just come from riding Twister at Knobles, which was my previous benchmark for a lateral-focused Woody. And while that ride is good, and I'm a fan of it, Legend started blowing it out of the water really quickly. The voyage got better after every single ride I rode on it, and I went from being skeptical about it to starting to like it, and then eventually starting to love it. The Raven especially, I mean, look, just look at the shirt I'm wearing. The Raven was perhaps the surprise hit of the trip. It was way more powerful than I was expecting, and it has two amazing distinct halves. The first half chock full of great airtime and that awesome turnaround over the water, and the second half that kind of feels like a mini version of the Beast just charging through the wilderness, but with crazy laterals and absolutely unmatched pacing. And then I got to T-Bird, and to my surprise, I rode T-Bird 3 times in a row because I didn't realize how damn good it is. It is one of the best B&M wings in the country, in fact, one of the best B&M loopers in the country, and it rounds out the park so well. It has the launch that the park was missing, it has the steel coaster the park was missing, it brings on great positive Gs, great float and hang time. It's just an overall very complete ride experience. It feels very unique, and it slots into Holiday World's lineup super well. And then there's Good Gravy, which, you know, it's good gravy. But it is cute as hell, so I gotta give him props to that. As the day went on and the sun continued to beat down, all the rides began to warm up like crazy. And the good rides that I got earlier in the day turned into great rides by the early afternoon, which turned into absolutely incredible rides by the end of the day. The Voyage was running just like absolute madness, the Raven was just trying to kill me, and the laterals got even crazier than I could have expected. Overall, I was really impressed with the park, and I started to love Holiday World, which is something I did not expect from myself coming into the park to begin with. I love Holiday World. But there was one thing I didn't get to do last year on my trip to Holiday World, and that was get night rides. And even though I had the opportunity to stay till park close and maybe get 1 or 2 night rides on one of the Woodies, I was just too beaten down and tired to really continue, so I headed back to my hotel room and prepared for the rest of my trip. It gave me a taste for night rides at Holiday World, and I knew that there was one way to get that. Let's go to the legendary HoliWood Nights. So I put in for HoliWood Nights, and like a lot of you, I did not get a ticket. Boy, that ticketing process is an absolute mess. And thank God for my girlfriend who was able to get a ticket. Bravo, thank you, you're the best. So we trekked out to Cincinnati, made a stop to Kings Island, then drove the long distance from Cincinnati to the middle of nowhere to experience HoliWood Nights for the first time. Now, a lot of HoliWood Nights looks good on paper. I mean, you get 6 hours of ERT, you get free food, you get some ERT at the water park, you get a walk back. It's a pretty great deal, especially considering we weren't pass holders, so the tickets basically paid for themselves with the 2 days of free park admission. But I still had some reservations about the HoliWood Nights event just because of how much people talk about it. Anytime someone hypes something up so much, I generally get a little bit skeptical. That's just kind of the nature of who I am as a person, but I've heard from so many people, so many years, that HoliWood Nights is this life-changing experience, so I had to find out for myself. And I have to say, there were some negatives associated with the event. Outside of the 6 hours of ERT, which we will talk about later, don't worry, the events were alright, but not amazing. The walk back was really cool, I did appreciate that, and I always love going behind the scenes like that, but the event was missing cool things that I've done in previous events, like, you know, visiting maintenance tours, going into the maintenance shed, kind of going behind the scenes and talking to the people who run the rides. Other stuff like that that really elevates other coaster experiences that I've been on. Another thing that was rather disappointing about the event is, you know, special opportunities such as lift hill walks and zen rides and items like that were auctioned to the highest bidder instead of being lotteried off like in a previous event. I remember going to an event at Dorney Park and we all entered into a lottery. I won the lottery and got the chance to walk up the lift hill of the water ride and watch the fireworks from the top right before the Halloween events came. That was really cool and one of my favorite memories from a coaster event, but you're not going to be able to get that opportunity unless you shell out at Holiday World. And these events go for like hundreds of dollars. And I understand they're looking to make money or it's donated to charity. I'm not sure if that part is actually true.
Hi, me from Post. I checked and it does actually all go to charity, so I kind of feel like a bit of a dick now for harping on this so much.
But it's just a shame for people who don't have the financial capital to really invest in something like that to miss out on those opportunities from the get-go. And I couldn't help but compare HoliWood Nights a little bit to Roller Coaster Rodeo, which is happening pretty soon after, where you just get a lot more from your coaster experience than you do at HoliWood Nights, which is crazy to say, but you know, Jeff Siebert's absolutely killing it down there, so shout out. Finally, there's the sheer number of people at HoliWood Nights, and that's a good thing and a bad thing, but when you first show up and you see like 500 people there, it's a little bit intimidating and a little bit frightening, I won't lie. And there were also factors that were out of Holiday World's control, so I won't really blame them for that. We had some pretty nasty weather at the beginning, which was kind of off-on brutal rainstorms and thunderstorms, alternating with beautiful, nice weather. They had to push back the walk back like 3 separate times, but to their credit, Holiday World accommodated as much as they can. It did result in us getting absolutely rained on during the snack before the walk back, but it was extremely entertaining watching everybody run back from the hills into some shelter, so I guess it was worth it for that. The weather did make the Splash and Safari ERT pretty much useless because it was just cold, wet, and rainy by the time the ERT rolled around, but again, that's not their fault. But with all of those negative factors in mind, I have to say that my time spent at Holiday World and HoliWood Nights was absolutely worth every single second of it, and you need to go. It's incredible. There are 2 main factors, at least to me, that make HoliWood Nights special. The first is the Night ERT, and the second is the vibe. So let's start off with the Night ERT. You get 3 hours of Night ERT for 2 straight nights in a row, which means 6 hours of uninterrupted extended ride time. Holiday World basically kept all of their coasters and a couple of flats open at night, especially that weird turkey-themed dark ride, which is an incredible experience and highly recommend that you ride it. And during those 3 hours of ERT, Holiday World just comes alive. Not just talking about the vibe, which I will get to in a bit, I'm talking about the coasters. And the night rides on every single one of their major coasters are absolutely incredible. Yes, I got a couple of Voyage trimless night rides, one in the second to back row with a very, very high verify on the restraint, and it was magical. The experience is otherworldly, almost zen. It's kind of hard to describe, really. It just feels eternal, like you're going on forever. When you dive into the wilderness after the first drop, you just immediately feel that it's going to be special. It's almost pitch black out there. You absolutely blitz through that middle section. And the trimless night ride just adds a lot of chaos to that final section that is a little bit there, but isn't as present during normal Voyage rides. It does elevate the experience, is what I'm saying. Yes, it's worth the hype. The Voyage night rides are something really, really special, so it's almost worth it just for that alone. But the real differentiating factor for HoliWood Nights, the real thing that steps it over the edge for me, is the fact that every other coaster absolutely brings it at night. It just like kicks into another gear. I don't know what they do, but it's absolutely nuts, and every other ride just becomes incredible at night. Part of that is the setting. Pretty much all of the major coasters dive deep into the wilderness, and you basically can't see anything off there. It has this element of chaos to the layout, and the rides just run better. The T-Bird was apparently running in boost mode. I don't know if that is actually a thing. According to the ops, it was, and the ops were pretty friendly and talking to us throughout, and I believe them because, damn, that felt a whole lot faster than it did in the morning. The launch was absolutely kick-ass. I had ridden Rapterra literally, like, the week before, and compared to Rapterra, T-Bird's just, like, Dododampa, oh my god. The positives were absolutely nuts. And just the way you get flung through the layout in the darkness at night as the Voyage comes careening through next to you. Oh, it was a great experience. Great positives. Overall, just a very well-rounded ride and super re-rideable, too. The Legend starts offering these violent pops of airtime that it does not normally. Now, Legend does have some airtime, but it's not like a chock full of airtime ride, but we were getting pops of ejector in random spots that I'd never expect to give airtime before. On top of that, of course, the laterals got even more insane, which I didn't think was humanly possible, and you could just hear the train careening and sparking as it flew through those corners, barely hanging on, feeling like you were about to get flung out of the side of the ride. It was so good. And then there's the Raven, which isn't the best ride in the park, but it is still one of the best goddamn woodies out there, and it really came alive at night. It was so special. That fourth drop is just magical at night. Like, I didn't even know how to describe it. It's like ejector, but also like it's this pulling sensation, like you're being kind of pulled down by a rope and just dragged into the wilderness by some predatory bird. The whole rest of the layout was giving crazy airtime and laterals and pops that it usually does not, and that final section just darting through the wilderness felt absolutely unhinged. Better than the Voyages section in the back, which is saying a lot. Now, I had just ridden the Beast literally like the day before, and I was disappointed to say that it was one of the weaker night rides I had. So coming to Holiday World and experiencing all these insane night rides back to back to back to back to back really just put everything into perspective. I said before that the second half of the Raven kind of feels like a truncated version of the Beast, and at night, it absolutely lives up to that hype. It's very short, but it just feels like you're getting dragged around like a rag doll, like you're in the clutches of the Raven, and it's not gonna let go as it flies throughout the wilderness to reach its nest. Now, I will say one thing, which is that a pothole is present on the last turnaround of the Raven, which wasn't that bad during the day, but as it accelerated at night, it got worse and worse and worse, so hopefully they can retract that in the future, because it did definitely hurt my head, but still, I absolutely adored the Raven. I got so many laps on it, especially because if you're not aware, basically everybody rushes to and stays at the Voyage all night, which means that basically every other ride is a complete walk-on. Sure, I do think getting a Voyage night ride is 100% worth it, but you can ride your Voyage night ride, you can walk over to the Legend and the Raven and ride them each 5 times in a row without getting off of the train. And those rides are so good, they're such great experiences that you will not feel like you're missing out on anything. T-Bird too. Go ride the Voyage, go walk over to T-Bird, ride it 5 times in a row, which is what I did, come back, ride the Voyage again, walk over to the Legend and the Raven, and get a ton of laps on that. You can optimize your time so well at HoliWood Nights, and the vibe everywhere is incredible, especially at the Voyage, but even at the rides that have less people there. It's just such a special coaster lineup that is way better than it looks on paper. Each of the woodies, like I mentioned before, brings its own different sort of juice, and it gets mixed together into this delicious smoothie of thoosie deliciousness. And I don't know how much validity there is to the greasing the wheels thing that I've heard a lot about the Raven and the Legend, but it definitely does feel a lot faster, so I think it's worth attending HoliWood Nights if you want to find out for yourself. But that brings us to the final X factor of HoliWood Nights, and that is the vibe. When we walked into HoliWood Nights, the first thing I did was, well, wait around in the rain, but the second thing I did was the walk back, which was fun and cool, and it was kind of entertaining to people watch all of these hundreds of thoozies with their cameras just taking a shot every time a single train went by. I thought the vibe was alright, you know, people were kind of hanging out in their own groups. It didn't really feel like anything special. Then the sun goes down and everything changes. The energy, once the ERT starts, is just absolutely electric. Everywhere you go, there are just thoozies. People walk up to you, people will talk to you, you'll make new friends, you'll engage with people while you're waiting in lines with your favorite ride. It's just a very friendly and energetic environment. Everyone feels excited because everyone's there for the same reason that you are. There's a sort of camaraderie with HoliWood Nights. Even though there's this large group of people, you're all together to worship at the Church of Holiday World. And that vibe is especially apparent in the station of the Voyage. And honestly, I think the Voyage station wait during HoliWood Nights is almost as exciting as the ride itself. The vibe is just off the charts. Everyone is so excited. You get into the station, everyone's just hooting and hollering. The ride ops, shout out to the ride ops. Everyone is so into it. They all seem excited to be there. They all seem excited to engage with you. And they're just really upping and amping the energy. Just being in that station with the Voyage just feels almost like a holy service. And if the Voyage station is a service, then riding the Voyage at night is certainly a religion I can subscribe to. I came home to my hotel 30 minutes away from the park every night, absolutely exhausted, but just buzzing with energy and adrenaline. It just feels incredible to be with such an incredible group of people and be involved with something as special feeling as ERT at Holiday World. So, in conclusion, I had a bit of trepidation coming in. Regrettably, HoliWood Nights does live up to the hype. I kinda didn't want it to, just because people are so insufferable about the event, which makes it so impossible to get tickets, and I really feel for everyone who entered the lottery and wasn't able to get in, but it absolutely surpassed my expectations. I wouldn't say it's necessarily about how Holiday World puts on the event itself. Like I said, there are some cool things, the food's pretty good, the walk back is entertaining, but again, I've been to other roller coaster enthusiast events where it feels like the park is more engaged and it feels like you're more involved with the park itself rather than just being there for some extra ride time. But the experience of 6 hours of dark ERT and just the people surrounding you and engaging in this event with you at every step really made the event so worthwhile and so special. I would highly recommend going to HoliWood Nights if you can. I will probably try to continue going in the future, but if not, at the very least, head to Holiday World at night and experience some of the best night rides that any park has to offer. Thank you for watching the video, and if you've gotten this far and haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button. I assume if you got this far in the video, then you enjoyed the content and you will probably enjoy more. Also, please give the video a like, it really helps with the algorithm. This is a bit more of a relaxed introduction back into my channel after I finally finished my doctoral thesis, but I have a huge backlog of videos to get to, and I'm excited to start working on them after I take a very, 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 very well-deserved break. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.